want to go into more a subject that's really important for the world today, and that's drug abuse. That's a huge indicator of a fallen, wicked nation. And one thing that I just want to explain to you guys is we get our word pharmacy from the Greek word pharmakia, which means, the definition of this is the use or the administering of drugs, poisoning, and also sorcery, magical arts, often found in connection with idolatry and fostered by it. All right. Pharmakia is used 3 times in the King James Version, New Testament, to describe sorcery. And you can read these on your own for the sake of time. Galatians 5:20, Revelation 9:21, and Revelation 18:23. So every time it's using the word sorcery there, or, an idolatry, they're talking about that word pharmakia, which also means the use or the administering of drugs. Now, originally, I was going to name this sermon, don't be partakers, or, that, because when you involve yourself in these sins, you're a partaker with all the wickedness that's associated with that sin. And in America, America has one of the highest levels of illegal drug use in the world. The Rand Corporation believes Americans spend over $150 billion a year annual on illicit drugs, only rivaled with the $158 billion that they spend on alcohol. So obviously you could say Americans like their drugs. And a lot of times you'll see, upper middle class or high class people or movies or whatever trying to glamorize drugs and drug use, or musicians or whatever, and they want to give you this picture that it is a glamorous thing, or that people are using drugs in mansions and they're rich, or they're becoming rich off the sale of drugs. But I want to tell you that when you participate in this sin, you're a partaker with every part of it. Now, we had mentioned before, I just mentioned that drug use is related to witchcraft. Now, a lot of people would be like, "Oh, Ben, you're over the top, you're crazy." But I just want to read you from an article with the headline, "Mexican cops find 40 skulls and a fetus in a jar at satanic altar set up by drug traffickers who thought it would protect them from the police." So these are Mexican drug traffickers. A lot of drugs, whether it's marijuana, cocaine, methamphetamines, they come across that Mexican border. And let's read a little more. Atlanta DEA special agent in charge, Robert Murphy, is no stranger to shrines of narco saints. He says they are facilitating the flooding of Georgia streets with illegal drugs, including heroin, methamphetamine, cocaine, and fentanyl. Atlanta is a major hub. I mean, we're talking about, from a transportation point, from a trafficking standpoint, we have a huge user base. So there's money here. Murphy said that. It says, Wynn, that's the interviewer, asked Murphy if he finds the shrines at major drug labs and drug stashes often. Yeah, Murphy responded. It would be more newsworthy if we didn't find one. So what does that tell you right there? The people that are making your drugs, trafficking your drugs, getting your drugs, they're worshiping Satan. They're worshiping idols. You don't think they're praying over those drugs? What you got to understand is a spiritual battle that manifests itself physically. So when you see these people on the street, on drugs, looking like they're possessed by the devil, all right? These people that are selling these drugs, looking like they're possessed by greed, doing all types of wickedness, well, that's because they are wicked. That's because there are spiritual forces involved. And you have to be a stupid idiot to not realize that. Anyone who's grown up around drugs, been around drugs, known people on drugs, knows that there is a definite spiritual element associated with it. And you'll see a lot of people thinking that demons are following them, or that they got bugs crawling all over their skin, seeing wicked illusions. You know, a lot of people having these bizarre religious experiences. A lot of false religions are associated with drug use and the hallucinations that they have as a result of these things. All right. Now, when you take these drugs, not only are you opening yourself up to this bizarre spirituality that I bet you didn't even know existed, and that went into the promotion and production and trafficking of your drugs. Well, now you have a hand in every crime that's associated with getting those drugs farm to table, so to speak. All right. So, Irish Times, an April 2020 article says, I'm not going to mention the names of these cartels. I don't even want to freaking be involved, but let's talk about what they do. It says, while such and such has itself fragmented, it was known for torture, beheadings, and massacres of civilians. More than 250,000 people have been killed since former President Felipe Calderon launched the so-called drug war in 2006. Man, that's terrible. All right. And then it says, Mexican government figures indicate that at least 60,000 people have been disappeared since 2006. A 2015 report by the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights found only 6 federal convictions for the crime of forced disappearance. So I want you to understand that, okay? 60,000 people disappeared since 2006. Only 6 convictions. Okay? That's wickedness in high places. That's what the Bible talks about. It says disappearances have been carried out by state forces, crime groups, or both, together with motives including kidnapping people for sex slavery, organ harvesting, forced labor, ransoms, repression of political activists and journalists, and gender-based violence. So enjoy that, you know, when you're taking your drugs and you think, oh man, this is so glamorous, this is so cool, or I'm so spiritual, getting to a newer level, right? Like turning on your chakras, you know, it's freaking... I want you to think about that. Sex slavery? Organ harvesting? Come on, man. Organ harvesting is pretty damn bad. I mean, you know, you want to be a part of that? You want to partake in that? That's what you like? Forced labor? That's slavery, man. You know, I thought, you know, come on, man. That's not progressive. That's not forward thinking. That's not woke. You know, come on, man.